Nannie Helen Burroughs, a name you might not know, but a presence that has likely helped to shape the world you live in today. In a world built to keep her down, she was a woman who refused to stay silent. She stood against impossible odds. She had nothing, no money, no power, but she had a dream. So how did she pull this off? What could a young Black woman living in the Jim Crow era with only $1.50 in her pocket possibly do to change history? Let's find out. Born in 1879 to formerly enslaved parents in Virginia, Nannie Helen Burroughs grew up knowing the weight of poverty and discrimination. But instead of breaking her spirit, it ignited a fire deep within. She believed that education was the weapon to fight oppression. Her journey would be dangerous, exhausting, and lonely. But she knew, if she could just build a school, she could change the future for thousands of Black girls and women. But how does one build a school with no resources? In 1909, Burroughs arrived in Washington, D.C. with nothing more than $1.50 and a vision. She went to community gatherings and shared her vision of female empowerment through education. But she was turned away time and time again. Black women were expected to stay small, to know their place. Yet, Burroughs refused to shrink. They said she was too bold, too ambitious. They said Black women didn't need an education, that they should be content with domestic work. But Nannie Helen Burroughs knew that real power comes from knowledge. And she would give that power to every woman she could reach. And then, finally, after years of struggle, it happened. Nannie opened the National Training School for Women and Girls, completely self-funded by the Black community. The school was much more than a simple building with books. It was a battlefield. Inside those walls, Burroughs armed her students with education, skills, and most importantly, hope. But the challenges didn't stop there. As her school grew, so did her fight. Burroughs was not only an educator, she became a relentless activist. She stood tall in the face of racism, sexism, and brutal opposition, leading her students to stand with her in protest marches and political movements. The cost of leadership was heavy, and the resistance often came from within her own race, particularly men who resisted her defiant spirit. In one of her most famous speeches, Burroughs boldly confronted both white America and the Black community itself, accusing them of sidelining Black women. She roared, "We refuse to be shackled by our race or our gender. We have been tested in the fire, and we will emerge as gold." Against the odds, Nannie Helen Burroughs transformed the lives of thousands. Through her school, she empowered generations of Black women to become teachers, businesswomen, and leaders. Her belief that education could lift women out of poverty, out of oppression, became a reality. She had succeeded in her mission. Her school still stands today, more than 100 years later, a living monument to the dreams of a woman who dared to believe in the impossible. But Nannie's legacy didn't end with her school. Her fearlessness sparked a revolution that transcended generations. From the civil rights movement to the rise of Black women leaders across the globe, Burroughs was the catalyst. Today, when Black women rise to speak, to fight, to lead, they carry with them the unshakable courage of Nannie Helen Burroughs, the woman who, with nothing but a dream, changed history. She fought to give Black women the keys to freedom. The question is, how will we continue her legacy? Nannie Helen Burroughs built more than a school. She built a legacy. If her story has moved you, share it. Speak her name so that we never forget the gift she gave us.